I know before you guys made this movie, you were obviously involved in writing a lot of episodes of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. And everyone knows Always Sunny, but it's a show about some morally bankrupt characters doing some pretty unethical things. And I mean, to varying degrees, we kind of see that in this movie too. I think, especially with the character Cooch, I kept thinking like this is something Dennis would cook up totally. How much did kind of working on that show influence this movie for you guys?
that was our first real writing job, so I think we'll be taking lessons from that experience to everything we ever do. But I think what really appealed to us about the Koosh character and in the confines of a movie is that there's an arc, there's a chance to learn something, there's a chance for redemption. Whereas I don't think Dennis Reynolds learns very much from his actions. He just comes up with new ways to get around the obstacles standing in front of him.
Yeah, and I'll say we watched so many of the high school comedy genre movies when we were writing this. And there were some tropes, to be an extension of those movies that came before this. We wanted to fall in line with a lot of things they did, but subvert them in our own ways. So we saw a couple movies from, many, many years ago where there's a guy character who does some questionable things and it's played off as a comedy. So we wanted to kind of do a version of that where the character gets the proper comeuppance.
Sure. Yeah, that's actually, I was going to ask you that too, because I noticed I saw a lot of Superbad when I was watching the movie. Bobby Cannavale reminded me a lot of Jessica Williams and Booksmart, but in the time, this is totally its own thing and its own vibe. It's got its own story. So I was just curious if there was any other movies kind of you were inspired by too when you were working on this.
I think all those, we love watching movies, and if we could be, even a tenth as good as any one of those you just mentioned, we'd be thrilled. But I think we would look to them for inspiration, and we'd look to them to see like, okay, what can we do a little differently to put our own spin on this?
Yeah, but we watched a ton of those, and there were so many great ones. You mentioned Superbad and Booksmart, Dazed and Confused, Clueless, Can't Hardly Wait, The American Pies, Fast Times. Like there were so many. They're all great in their own way. So we just wanted to kind of do our best to fall in line with any of those, and if we can ever be mentioned in the same sentence, that's an honor.
Yeah, I think you guys pulled it off. I think it totally works as its own thing. It's awesome.
Thank you.
I got so excited right at the beginning when Caitlyn Olson showed up. Didn't expect her to be in the movie. What was it like working with her again?
It's, we've become good friends with Caitlin and we love her, but I think every time she comes on set, whether it was on the Mick or whether it's on this, you just pinch yourself. Like you can't believe like how did I ever get so lucky to be in this situation? And I think she was on the first day of shooting this movie. And so I think that also like put the cast on notice in a sense of like, oh my God, like we have the opportunity to work with one of the all-time greats, and there was just such a fun buzz and energy. But we love Caitlin. We think she's so talented, and I think everything we write, our very first phone call is to her, just begging her, like, is there something in this that appeals to you, and will you grace us with your presence?
Yeah, yeah. It looks like she's having fun too. It's her character. I had a lot of fun with that. Um, I'm curious about kind of the main cast too, because I talked to the four guys yesterday and they were all a hoot. They were great. Curious, just kind of, I was familiar with Mason just because of the Black Phone movie from a few years ago, but the other three, I wasn't too familiar with their work. How did you kind of go about finding them, and what was it kind of like working with them?
I mean, look, we cast a wide net. It was really important to us from the beginning that we cast actors who are the actual age of the characters they're playing, which creates some issues from a production standpoint, but we felt it was ultimately going to be worth it. And honestly, a big part of casting kids is you want to find kids that have a good heart. They understand, especially for a movie like this, that they really understand what's right and wrong, and that the characters they're playing are not people that they should emulate in general. So yeah, those guys, we got lucky. It's tough to say how we did it. We worked really hard in the casting process, and then the biggest surprise to us was once we got them together in a room, the chemistry between them in real life was so undeniable, that we kind of knew, man, if we can capture a little bit of that on screen, we're going to be in good shape.
Yep, yep, totally could tell talking to them yesterday. They were talking over each other, laughing, having a great time, and I think that comes across the movie too.
Yeah, man, we just had a screening with them last night, and it's honestly so fun to just watch them genuinely like each other.
Yeah,
Mm.
they seem to be becoming their own little group of friends and icing Dave and I out, which I'm a little less thrilled about, but I understand.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
I got to talk to you about the ending of this movie too, because I think that was my favorite part. Seeing him up there singing, it made me want to see you guys direct a whole musical. And I love the like very last scene that you end on too. It doesn't play out exactly like you expect, but the little wink, that's a subtle little touch. I thought that was awesome. Did you know from the beginning that's how you wanted to end the movie with that big musical number like that?
Yes, before we started writing, I think once that piece fell into place, we kind of had something to drive towards. I think that stemmed from us watching 10 Things I Hate About You, which is another great high school movie. And there's that awesome scene where Heath Ledger serenades Julia Stiles. And while we were watching it, we're like, this is so adorable and cute and makes you feel good watching it. But there's zero chance in high school that that would work. That guy would be ridiculed. So once we landed on that, we knew we had a good direction. And also, I think, Ben, he's a really good guy at heart, but he does some questionable things throughout the movie. And we thought it would be a letdown to have him completely forgiven at the end. It would have felt a little inauthentic. So we thought a more powerful message was he does not get exactly what he wants, but he's going to work harder and he's not going to give up.
I also think that was so fun to film though, because that's Mason dancing, that's Mason singing, and he could not have possibly been more
Yeah,
uncomfortable.
that took years off of his young life.
And I think at one
Told me
point
that. He said he was nervous.
he was so nervous, but he's like so good and charming, and we were like, "What are you so nervous about?" And then I remember once we turned around to get Bella's coverage, she was just like, "I think I need Mason singing for me to get the proper reaction." And he was just like, why are you doing this to me? Like, why are you tormenting like this?" But again, like I think that was just another example of the cast having so much fun with each other. And like we were at a point in the production then where Bella could just mess with him. And so like that was a really hard shoot that day, but I also look back on it as just being so much fun capturing those moments.
Yeah, I'm sure. He told me the song is still stuck in his head too, and he can't get it out no matter what he does. So,
Well, I'm not going to apologize for introducing Mason to Stevie Wonder. So you
yeah,
should be thanking us.
there you go. Another scene I gotta ask you about is the big gross out moment in the back of the car that happens about midway through. I was gagging. That was gross.
But were you laughing while you were gagging?
I was also laughing very hard.
We want to, manipulate as many feelings and things as possible at once.
I think the entire crew was gagging the day they brought out that bucket on set. It was upsetting, and it's mostly peanut butter. I think everyone steered clear of peanuts for a couple months after that shoot.
Makes sense. But yeah, no, that scene was really funny, I thought too. It's again, you guys commit to it totally and it works. It totally works.
I mean, all the credit there goes to Lauren Gray, who is such a gamer. Certainly not the most comfortable shoot she's ever been a part of. But yeah, every night there just came that time in the evening where it was like, okay, let's lather Lauren up with the peanut butter and get her onto set. So we are forever in debt to her for going to that place.
But I think that's another one of those scenes where, like once you establish her as the stereotypical hot girl, like it's funny to see her do something that is so unexpected and so not hot. And again, credit goes to Lauren to like look so great at the beginning of the movie and then look so terrible for a chunk of it.
Yeah. No, she kills it totally.
She's awesome.
Yeah, and that's kind of also what I like about the movie is it has those big like raunchy gross out moments, poop jokes, sex jokes, all that, but it also has like a lot of heart, just with Cooch wanting to be accepted by his brother, Mason kind of trying to figure out what kind of person he's going to be in high school and all that. I think you balance it really well. Was that challenging at all to kind of put all that into one movie?
Um, it's definitely something we talk about as the emotional core of the story. And you know, we knew if we were going to go to those places, we wanted to balance it out with some sweetness. And you know, a lot of that, we talked about that a lot during casting. You know, kids that we were really rooting for. And yeah, credit to them.
I think it's a big credit to those actors who have both those gears. You know, none of them are just comedians or just dramatic actors. Like they can do it all. And like it was funny, like Ali Gallo, who plays the sister, who plays Benji's sister, like when she was shooting that scene in the hospital where she's crying, like it was funny just having her show up to set that day and she's just like in a sad zone listening to sad music, like doesn't want to talk to anyone, is off doing her thing. And you're just reminded like, oh yeah, we've been joking around most of the time, but Ali is such a talented actress and like she can go to that place when she needs to. And it inspires you to up your game in other ways too, of like, okay, she came to play today, so I better be on it as well. So we're indebted to all those performers, I would say.
Sure, definitely. Another great one in there is Scott MacArthur. I mean, he doesn't have a ton of screen time, but he was killing me when he was on there. He was so funny. I know you guys worked with him on the Mick and everything, and he was involved in writing some of that. How much did he kind of influence his character in here?
A lot. I mean, that scene was really short, and I remember when we asked him if he'd come by and play it for us. He read the scene, and it was his idea um, to have his character. He's like, "What if I come in before the mom?" Originally, they entered together, and he's like, "What if I go have a couple minutes with these kids before their mom comes in?" And then once he said that, the scene just kind of clicked in our head and it got so much funnier. That was another one that we shot on like I think the first day of filming. And for those kids to see a guy who's as talented as Scott in action, I think just really set the tone for the whole shoot. And he's so good with kids. He's so funny and he just elevates our material anytime we work with him. So he's our guy.
I would also add Scott MacArthur, the person, is such a good human being, like could not be sweeter, could not be a more decent guy to be around. But like he walks in for the first time in this movie and he's got that smile on his face, and like you can just feel like the buzz in a theater when you watch it with people of like, okay, who is this dirtbag and what is he up to? And
You know
so
he's gonna say something, and you're just waiting to find out what it is.
yeah, he's got that twinkle in his eyes, and you know, we're like, oh, this guy's up to no good.
Totally, totally. So then last question for the two of you. This movie obviously is set with these four characters in their first day or first week of high school. Would you have any interest in like revisiting these characters further down the line in a potential follow-up or anything, like sophomore or junior year?
Sure. I mean, these kids are getting cooler and older with every single day, at least in real life. But you know, I think more than anything, like we just like working with those people. So if we ever had an opportunity to do that again, we would jump at the chance.
Yeah, whether it's these characters or other characters, we're so happy to bring new faces like that into our stable, and much in the way we do with the Mick actors, we'd be feel lucky to write for those guys again and again in the future.
Sure. No, definitely. I'd be down to see it if you guys decide to do it. That's just
We'll see if there's demand.
Yes.
We'll kick it around.